Hey, it's Dan with EUJuicers.com, coming to you as always from the heart of Europe, and today I've got Excalibur's newest dehydrator. This is the RES10, and what I want to do is just going to be a quick video. I want to show you some of the features of this, how this is different from their other dehydrators. Then I'm going to have my wife come in, tell you a little bit about how she uses it as an herbalist, and we'll wrap it up from there. So this guy here has a few differences from all the other Excaliburs. The first one is the shape. You'll notice right away it's a taller, thinner model. All the other Excaliburs use square trays. This one has kind of a rectangular tray. They usually have a 35 by 35 centimeter tray, which is around 14, 15 inches. This one has a 27 by 35, so it's a lot narrower. It does have 10 trays, so there still is a pretty good amount of room. Compared to their normal dehydrators, the 5 tray and the 9 tray, in terms of area, this fits somewhere in between, a little closer to the 5 tray actually. I was surprised because when I first saw this in Excalibur's promotional material, it looked really big in the pictures. And when it came in, I thought, oh, it's kind of small, which is good and bad. It's good because it can fit in a lot of places. It's compact. You could put this under a countertop if you want. And because it's narrow, doesn't take up that space. Our dehydrator, we have a standard Excalibur, one of the square 5 tray models. I ended up putting it out in the garage. That's where my wife does all her herbalism. This one, I brought it home for a couple of months for her to try out, give me some feedback, and we kept it in the kitchen because it fit better and it looked nicer. So it's got the new shape. It also, the biggest difference for this is that it has, they call it a dual zone dehydrator. What it basically means is back here, there are 2 separate fans, 2 separate heating units, and in the middle is this plastic divider here. This is optional. It comes with the dehydrator, but it's optional to use. What it does is it basically bisects this dehydrator into 2 units, and I can actually program the top half to be at one time and one temperature, the bottom half to be at one time and one temperature. And in fact, that's what I did just yesterday. I put in some apples and pineapple, and I programmed the top half to go for, what was it, 9 hours at about 55 Celsius, and I did the apples at 6 hours at about 45 Celsius, and they both turned out great. Or you can take it out and just put bigger things in, or have everything all at one temperature. But that's pretty cool. So in a way, it's kind of like having 2 dehydrators because of those 2 units in there. It's also got a nice interface. I'll show you in detail how to program it in just a moment, but up here is a touch panel. Previously, Excalibur's digital models, they were a little tricky to use. Like to go from one stage to the next, you'd have to hold one button and then hit another button at the same time. This one's a lot more user-friendly. And it's also programmable. I've actually programmed in a couple of pre-programs for my wife. You can name them. I have one for infused oil that she makes, another for her herbs. And you can store up to 30 programs in there, which is nice. It also does 2-cycle dehydrating. Besides just dividing the top and the bottom, you can program a first time and temperature and then a second time and temperature. So for things like beef jerky, you're putting in some meat, you want to have that initial cycle really hot, but just for a little bit, like 30 minutes at 70 degrees and then 6 hours at a lower temperature, something like that. And this is good for that. It also goes lower than other Excaliburs. Excalibur, sometimes people are a little critical. They say, hey, the lowest temperature, really they measure it, it's around 100 degrees Fahrenheit or around 35 Celsius. This one is rated to go down to 29 or to 85 Fahrenheit, which is nice. So let me show you how to program it. And it's actually, once you get over the initial hump, it's pretty simple. So when you first turn on this RES10 dehydrator, this is what you see on the screen, dry it or my recipes. Dry it means you just want to start it and you want to put in your own settings. My recipes are the pre-programmed ones that you've already put in. So what I'm going to do is show you how I programmed it for these pineapples and apples, how I actually did dual zone. So I will go to dry it. This square in the middle is the enter button. And you notice here 3 options. Time 1, temp 1, time 2, temp 2, or 2 zone. Time 1 one temp, or one time, one temp, that's just standard. You put in your time, you put in your temperature. 2 time, 2 temp, that's if you want to have an initial hotter cycle followed by a longer, cooler cycle. But let's go to 2 zone. So what I'm going to do is program the top for pineapple, program the bottom for apple. I'll hit square to enter, and it says zone A. Zone A is the top, and I need 1 time, 1 temperature, and the time was 9 hours, so I hit enter, and I just go up to 9. And then I go down to temperature. I put it in at 56. Enter that. And now I can choose zone B. That's where I had the apples. I'll hit enter to go into zone B. And I had those in at 5 hours. And I had them at 50 degrees. I go to temperature. And you see here, if I want to redo zone A, the top, I can edit it, or I can just hit start, enter. And notice now I can look at any time. It tells me zone A, the top, has 9 hours to go at 56 degrees. Zone B has 5 hours to go at 50 degrees. And there's some other icons that you can see in the owner's manual. But I'll cancel it. Pretty simple to program. Also with my recipes, I programmed in a couple for my wife, infused oil. So for example, if you want to put in your own recipe, you can edit it. You can edit the name, which I already did, and then the settings are the same. In this case, I have it programmed for 24 hours at 50 degrees. So really, all Krista needs to do, let's go back to the top screen again. When she does her oil, she just selects my recipes, infused oil is the first one, and start. And set and forget. You don't have to worry about turning it off or anything. And speaking of Krista, I'm going to have her come out now and just talk a little bit about how her impressions are of this dehydrator.
Hi, I wanted to tell you today about a tool that is important for every herbalist, a dehydrator. I've used many different dehydrators as an herbalist, obviously dehydrating to preserve my herbal material, also making infused oils in the dehydrator. And this one, out of all the ones I've tried, is really, I think, my favorite for a couple of reasons. One is of its shape. It holds a lot of different plant material because you can stack many different shells in. And also it makes a lot of room for making infused oils. You can also program it. My husband was able to program it to make infused oils with 1 button press and to do different herbs at the temperatures that are necessary for those herbs with another button press. So I want to tell you a little bit about making the infused oils in the dehydrator. This was an amazing discovery that we could do this in the dehydrator. Normally, I would make my herbal infused oils using the solar method on a sunny windowsill, for example. But it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, which is a long time to wait. You need to wait that long to infuse all of the plant constituents into the oil. But sometimes I don't have that much time to wait. So I use the dehydrator now. So first I chop up my plant material using our juicer, works perfectly to get as much surface area as possible. And then I pop them into the dehydrator using maybe 6 jars per shelf if you've got similarly sized small jars, which is perfect so that we can put as many infused oils at once into the dehydrator, making it really efficient. And in 24 hours at a low setting, because of its consistent heat, I find that I get a better result from this oil. I feel like it's more powerful. It's got more of those active constituents in it because it's at this low heat for a very consistent heat. And it's only 24 hours, which means you're good to go. If you pull the shelf out, you can fit about 6 big jars at the bottom. So I'm able to do a lot of infused oil really quickly and get a better result, a more powerful, potent medicine comes out.
Yeah, so when I brought this home, Krista's used to her Excalibur, the little square short one, and she saw the interface and said, I just want a dial to turn. This looks complicated. But once I programmed it in where she just hits a button, it says infused oil, and especially when she saw the shape of this, the height, that she was able to fit so many more jars, she kind of became a fan. So it was a hit at our house for sure. And that kind of wraps it up. This model, it fits in, price-wise, in between those square ones, the 5 and 9 tray, and then they're really expensive, what is it, the EXC, the stainless steel giant model. So if you're looking for something that can fit in the kitchen, that has this form factor, and especially if this would be useful for you to have those dual zones where you could be doing 2 things at once, this is worth looking into. If you'd like more information, come to our website. That's at www.excaliburdehydrator.eu. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan, and I'll see you next time.